The first thing I want to do is have everybody introduce themselves. Introduce yourself and your connection with the beauty industry, as well as your connection with marketing. So I'm going to start with Rob, since I've been chit-chatting with you ladies here for the last 10 minutes. But Rob, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, your connection with the industry and your connection with marketing, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Rob Abney. I am a marketing consultant. I've been in marketing for, I think, going on 20 years now, starting in entertainment. So working for the BETs, MTVs of the world, and then navigating to agencies, and then ultimately finding my way to consulting, working with startups. Been working with beauty startups specifically, or beauty SaaS startups, for the last 5 years. Did a stint at a company called SheerShare that was selling space as a service, and then transitioned over to Salon Interactive, which does product sales and drop shipping for salons and barbershops, leading their marketing divisions, building them from scratch and turning them into whatever they are now. And now I work primarily with all kinds of startups. Right now I'm in medical and wellness, but definitely have had my eyes open to the world of beauty over the last 5 years, and the marketing practices and the strides that the beauty industry is attempting to make over the last decade or so.
Awesome. Very familiar with ShareShare. Most of my members are very familiar with ShareShare.
Sweet.
And I met you, Rob, through Alex from Salon
Yeah,
Home, who
yeah,
is, I believe, is trying to get you.
yeah. We've been talking. We've been talking. We'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us
No
today. I
problem.
cannot wait to pick your brain a little bit. And
Awesome.
we'll move on to Carla. Carla, you introduce
Okay.
yourself, your role in the beauty industry, and your role in marketing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am Carla Jones, and that's so funny because that's my username across all platforms. So that's where you can find me at I am Carla Jones. Very simple, and that's one of the things we'll talk about. I have been in the beauty industry since 19, well, actually since the early 80s. I am a licensed practitioner, former school owner, cosmetology instructor, and I actually did not come into the industry initially. I was not one of those. We had it, this was legacy was not that. I was the first in my family to enter into the beauty industry. All of my family members, primarily females, are educators. And so I didn't take that route in college. I'm a proud graduate of Florida A&M University with a degree in business administration. Yes, I got the MBA and all of that. So I've worked about 10 or 12 years in corporate, in operations, manufacturing, before transitioning into the beauty space. And one of the things that was really a connector for me that most people, and I guess I've always been about pieces, parts, and time. And so coming into the beauty industry really allowed me to continue that, the operations and the manufacturing experience that I got, and understanding, just how we put together services and things like that. And so I was behind the chair for about 17 years. Like I said, had my own school, had multiple salon models. So yes, you had the independent with booth renters, and then I opened a full service salon. Multi-ethnic was the first in our city, in Illinois. Did that. I transitioned out of behind the chair and working individually. Got an opportunity to work with Empire Beauty Schools and was their first regional director in the Chicago market, and then stayed in that position about 4 months. I tell people I had a Jerry Maguire move. And so I wrote this revenue kind of generation and did an analysis of where I thought the company, based on the way it was structured with academics, was missing on opportunity for training, as well as, see, didn't nobody ask me none of this, but I just decided, I'm like, look, I think you guys are missing an opportunity. Well, that led them into creating a position called the National Director of Clinic. So I went from overseeing the growth of one region in 4 months to now overseeing 38 schools in the entity, which at the time I think they have like 86 now. And so I took them in about 2 years from about 2.9 million to a little over 8 million in just revenue generation on the clinic floor by making small tweaks. So what I do now is I actually left corporate about 14 years ago. I came into the industry as a coaching consultant, actually as a digital and social media marketing strategist for hairstylists. That was at the onset of social media becoming prominent in our field. And I knew one of the things that beauty industry professionals would struggle with would be the marketing. That is not something that we're taught in school. That's something that basically it's one of those things they say, oh, you'll learn that when you graduate. Well, now you throw in this tool called social media, and I knew they were going to be lost. Well, that sounded good on paper, but what I realized is no one had goals to back up the activity for social media. So now I was like, okay, this is not working. So then I got into full coaching from a business and operations standpoint. And so I did that for a couple of years, moved away from digital and social media marketing, strategic kind of coaching and consulting. And now, believe it or not, I do coaching and consulting full time for schools in operations and accreditation. So the majority of my business now is in that. So yeah. And marketing is still a part of it because I look at the entity and identify, because with schools it's about enrollment. Enrollment is sales. And what do we have to do? We've got to become visible, spread our message. How do we do that? So yeah. So that's what I'm doing now. And that's how I integrate marketing, and stay abreast of what's going on and what's needed and what we can do and utilize.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Shannon, if you could introduce yourself and your role in marketing and your role in the beauty industry.
Yes. Well, that it was very interesting hearing you all. I was here taking notes like, oh, I want to ask you this. I want to ask you that. Great to meet you both. So I came into the industry. Let me think back. It's been a while. So my formal education background is in chemistry and product development. I'm also a licensed certified holistic clinical nutritionist. And so my introduction to the beauty industry, I actually entered the beauty industry as an entrepreneur. So I wanted to serve the need. I had a bout with cancer myself, and my mother had a bout with alopecia and psoriasis as well. And so I was at home trying to make products that I could use on my skin that didn't contain a lot of chemicals. I'm working in tandem with a chemist that I knew that was basically mentoring me through the process. And I made a line of products, 9 products for the skin and products for the hair, right? And as I was out doing my own marketing, just doing local farmers markets, selling my products, trade shows here and there, getting really acclimated and aligned with the green community at that time. I realized as I looked around at those trade shows that, we're all about sustainable living and, healthy living, right? I realized that I didn't see very many people that looked like me at that time. And as well as I didn't see very many products that were that were being marketed to people of color. So it made me rethink my entire strategy. Yes, I wanted to lead with a natural product, an organic product, but how would people that look like me knew that that product was for them? And so that sent me on a journey of really studying marketing. During that time, about 3 years later, I was out with a friend of mine that was a publicist having lunch, and she said, I invited a girlfriend to lunch today. And it was Jane Carter, founder of Jane Carter Solution. Jane Carter and I had a conversation that day. She called me the next day and said, I got to have you on my team. and so I started, I said, well, wait a minute, I have my own business, I have my own product line. How does this work? How do we support, how can I support you, Jane? And how can you support me? And she said, look, I know you got your own products. She said, but listen, I need you over here with me. I need you to help me I want to take my line. We want to expand into international markets. You're great with marketing. I love what you're doing with your products. She tested my products. She loved my products. She said, listen, I need you to come with me, and I will teach you what I know, and you teach me what you know, and we're going to work together. And I said, let me think about that, because I was on my own course, right? And so that led into a 10-year journey with Jane Carter and Jane Carter Solution.
Oh, wow.
With me starting really just helping her and consulting her on product formulation, marketing, and so forth, and just a full journey with Jane Carter Solution. So when I left Jane Carter Solution, I was the manager of marketing, as well as Jane's personal assistant, uh, doing anything and everything that Jane needed, which is how I met you, Elaine, right?
Yes,
And so from there, I would constantly, as we traveled all across the country to different trade shows, seminars, everything, I would constantly get approached by others from other brands. You know, there's this thing called social media. We don't know anything about it. You know, do you know someone, or could you consult us? Of course, with me being an employee, that was, I wasn't able to work with other brands directly. It's certainly not competitor brands, right? And so the light came on, and I was like, well, wait a minute. Is this a blessing in disguise, or is this, is this a whisper in my ear that I need to really think a little more deeply about my journey? So I hired a professional business coach for myself at that time, because I needed to figure out, what direction am I moving in, right? What is this sign? Because I knew it was a sign, because I had so many people inboxing me, and we're meeting so many people. And so I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna take a leap of faith. So I did a 2-week intensive business strategy coaching, flew out for that, and decided that, you know what, I'm going to start my own digital marketing agency, because what I learned was, I knew that I could help people, could heal people through formulation, right? I knew the power of all of that, but I had to understand how to align and how to really move within the industry. And so I continued to, work with Jane on the side, but I said, listen, I'm going to start my own agency. And that happened. That was in 2015, 10 years ago. So here I am today. Here I am today. I've worked with some great brands, made some really great relationships. My business expanded beyond just beauty clients and beauty brands, but even into the nonprofit sector, which I never imagined. I knew that I always had a passion for helping those that are less fortunate, for, that leadership ability to kind of pull and generate and bring people together to get things done. And so I founded and launched a nonprofit called Project Unity, and started helping other businesses that were nonprofits that did not have the resources or the means or the team to really help them with their digital marketing. And so that led to, all different types of brands, right? That were all different types of nonprofits, and all different types of brands that were starting their own foundations, right? That were coming to me for that consultation, and to really understand, how do I do this? We're a brand, but we're constantly giving away these samples, and we're, like, how do we make a difference? We want to do this. We're constantly going, and we're helping, and we're donating to this charity and that charity. We need to figure this out. We need to make this make sense, right? For our bottom line, right? So that's really how I got started in a nutshell. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like I said, I got the right people in the room. We have a hard time balancing experts with people who understand the entrepreneur, understand the beauty industry. So I'm just excited that I was able to get you guys with this very specific expertise and experience to join us today.
Mm-hmm.
And those of you all in the room with us, my two Renees and Swanson, this is a conversation. So what I want to do now is make sure that you guys tell us a little bit about where you are with your business and what you're doing. I'm going to start with Renee Zolkos, and I should know how to pronounce your name by now, Renee, because you're always with us. And so when you jump on, tell me how to pronounce your last name, please.
Zolkos.
Zolkos.
Yes.
Zolkos.
Yes.
Got it. So yes, if you could just tell everybody else a little bit about who you are, where you are in business, and then maybe one marketing challenge that you have.
So I was born and raised in Poland, and I finished the school in Poland. And when I came here, of course, I have a chance to work in the salon. And later, I have to nostrify my license, the beauty license. And later, the owning of the shop land on my lap. So for 35 years, I own small business in Chicago, Northwest Chicago area. And I worked like a hamster in the wheel, Yeah, I have a customers, I have a shop, I have some employee, everything is fine. And like 10 years ago, I find some people who has a business plan, how to run the business. So I love to be with you because I can catch some new stuff because I'm like 50% in Polish community and they work and think a little bit different. So I want to catch something from you guys. That's why I'm here.
Thank
But I
you,
don't have
Renee.
I don't have like even the products. I'm learning different kind of products. Like the other lady said, she found the line for the apilicia, and psoriasis. So actually, good to know it's something like that because I can share with my customers who not will search for that kind of product. So thank you so much for letting me be in this group.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And then Renee has her grandbabies with the other Renee, as Paul has her grandbabies with her. So she's going to hopefully drop a little intro for us in chat. She happens to be our head of our Atlanta chapter for the association. So when we do live and in-person events in Atlanta, Renee is part of that. And then anything Atlanta specific, she is the head of our Atlanta club. She does own a salon, and we have talked a little bit about some of her needs and just really kind of goes back to some of the stuff you said, Carla, with just the structure first and then the promotion of the initiatives that come from that. So hopefully Renee will drop some things in chat for us. Johnson, don't know if you can speak or not. If you cannot, you can drop something in chat as well. But if you can, we'd love to hear a little bit about where you are professionally. And I see you took your mute off, so you can go right ahead.
Hello, everyone. Let's see, where do I start? First of all, I didn't know that I was going to be on this call. I just saw an email and thought, am I missing something? And so I realized that I know that my name was added through Rosalie. If anyone knows who Rosalie is. So I am a certified loctician, sister lock trained, but I'm also an advanced cosmetologist since 1983. So, what a blessing to be on this. Surprisingly, a blessing because as I hear different ones of you speak, these are things that I've been desiring to have, like not just the marketing, but the chemistry. I am newly a certified holistic trichologist. And so I have in my mind so many things that I am not able to put my hands on to service my clientele. And I want to keep it small because a part of my desire is to not be behind a chair or at all or as much and to live abroad or at least travel. We'll see what we have with that travel in these couple of years to come. But loose natural hair, locks, small micro locks. as well as to eventually maybe to train the coach or something uh, like that, just to kind of come away from. I also I sew, I make some products and things like that. So I have some ideals and just don't know where to plant them so that they can grow, manifest. And so it is true, not only an honor to be here, but I understand that it is a blessing because I was not looking. I was not looking. I was just praying and hoping that I could possibly, you know, tap into these mental niche that I have, and it's kind of all over the place. So I'm going to step back. But thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. So I must have said a couple of things that I want to get you guys feedback on. And one of them is, or what it makes me think of is what people need to do prior to focusing on the social, the social. What's the foundation? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, what foundational things do you all could run into? I know both Shannon and Carla who work with stylists directly, and Rob, I know you work with startups. So I don't know, at what phase you're talking to them, but it's people who are just kind of trying to wrangle their business, and then, people are yelling at them, marketing, marketing, marketing. What are the things that people are missing, that first step to get into marketing? I hope that question makes sense.
Yeah,
And
I
Carla,
think it makes sense. I think
Totally.
the place I started, I don't think it fully matters what you do, where you do it, and who you're doing it for. The basis of business always drives down to who is your audience, what do they need, and how can you get it to them, right? And that third part, how can you get it to them, has two prongs. How can you get them information? How can you get them the product? How can they purchase it from it? I think we're all taught monetize everything. My kids are 12 and 13. I teach them to monetize everything, but it also drills down to giving people what they need so that they remember you for when they want to buy something, right? And I think that's where social media comes into play. But even that, I personally believe you need to figure out where your audience is. If you have 100 customers and none of them use social media, which is far-fetched, I know, but if none of them use it, then social media isn't really your tool. It may be your tool for getting new customers who are in your area, but there's no, we started from community events for everything. We all went down to the market, we traded fruits for veggies, we traded money for things. It all started in community and expanded beyond there. So I think I teach everyone, whether on my team or I work with them or they're a consultant, start with who your audience is and what they're doing. The only way to figure that out is to talk to them. Talk to the folks who you see every day, or in this case, every month, or whatever their regimen is for getting their hair done, their nails done, all that stuff, and ask them, well, what'd you do this week? Actually don't just talk to talk to understand, and then figure out how to compile all that to understand your different audiences based on hair, based on skin type, based on nail type, based on whatever it may be. So that then you can start to give them the next best thing after they leave, right? Whether it's a product, I think it was Renee who was talking about different products, she's trying to understand whether it is you making your own products and trying to see if it'll fit their market or fit what they need. We tend to want to go and do things, but before you do things, you have to understand why you're doing it, especially in the world of low budgets, and making sure that you are using every penny to the best of its ability before you even spend that penny, making sure that it is what actually works for you and what will work for your customers, so your audience set.
And I'd like to add to that as well. And I think it's one thing that we typically overlook is we as business owners, and I'm gonna, if it's okay, guys, I will bring in some corporate, but I'm gonna stick more so to the independent or the salon owner, the beauty professional, okay? Because I know we've got a myriad of expertise here, so I'm going to stay in this lane a little bit in the conversation. But one of the things that I find is we try to market something that's not branded. We have no position in the marketplace. We
Yeah.
don't know who we are. We really have not defined who we really want to serve. And then how do we create a message that supports that? Because marketing is really about the messaging. And I always say to people that you cannot market anything that doesn't have a brand. I can't create a message on something that I don't know. If Carla doesn't know who she is or who she wants to be known or what she wants to be known for, then it's hard for me to create some type of marketing to sell that thing. So if I use Swanson as an example, because something stood out for me that most people probably will not even think about. She said she's now a holistic, I think, trichologist, right? She didn't just say, I just got my license to be a psychologist. She said specifically holistic trichology. Now, great title, but what does that mean? In her marketing, I would want to understand, she would literally have to say, not that I'm a holistic trichologist, because if people don't know what a trichologist is, it goes straight over their head. So if I want to take it down, I'm a holistic what? What do my services help someone who's suffering with what do? Right? So now I'm getting a clearer message. And one thing that's really funny is I ask people all the time when they give me all of this, oh, I'm this, da, 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 this fundamentals, da, 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 da. And I say, okay, so what does that really mean? Because all I hear are words that absolutely mean they sound good, but what does that really mean? And
Mhm.
so I think what we have to do is when we get down to the basics of marketing, sometimes we overthink it, is speak to your audience in the way the audience is accustomed to hearing things. We don't have to be fancy, we don't have to be any of that. A lot of times it's just being clear with our messaging. And so if I know who I am, if I know that the majority of my clients now have shifted, and this has really been something, sometimes as a business owner, you will see an opportunity, right? I think they call them blue oceans. So you'll see that opportunity. And oh, shoot, just like, wait a minute, hold up. Let me get Shannon. Shannon said, light bulb moment, right? These people are asking me, but I can't work with them. So there was an opportunity there that she had not even saw. There was a gap. And that gap created the opportunity. But she didn't know how to quote. She really got that strategic partner, that coach to help find clarity for her so she could go down the right road and not be all over the place. She's like, oh man, like in the candy store, oh, I think I want the red one, I want the pink one, I want the blue one. And as beauty industry professionals, we get caught up on the shiny objects. We literally will change in a millisecond if something else looks good, or we see somebody else doing something. Oh, I think I'm going to do that. Oh, I could be doing that. At the end of the day, you got to get focused. And that would be
Mhm.
the first thing is one, get focused,
Mm.
understand two, who you are as a business and what services do you really want to sell. All right. Three, who's out there, like Rob said, who's out there who's interested in this? Is somebody struggling with something that they would need, like a trichologist, right? Holistic trichologist to me means someone who takes a more natural approach versus more chemical, like a prescription from a physician. I could be totally wrong, but I would need Swanson to clarify that for me. See what I mean? So my interpretation of what she does could be misconstrued or totally off unless I get clarity from her. So when we're marketing, the biggest thing is we got to be clear. We don't have to have a lot of words, but the marketing that we choose to do is really about getting us visibility for our business, our brand, our service or product. And then being the problem solver for the person who's seeking what we have. So that for me is the first thing. Who are you? Is what is your brand? What do you want to be known for? My husband would say, okay, if I had the little white flag and we're in the moon, you've got your white flag and you're going to put your stake down. Where are you putting that stake? Is it in holistic trichology? Is it in accreditation specialist and compliance? Is it in sister locks? Is it in pedicures? You know, this nail tech may say, you know what, I'm just going to drill down and I'm going to be the pedicure specialist. I'm going to do all things pedicure. I don't want to do nails anymore. Absolutely, they can. Now, how do you market that so people know now that you're that specialist in that? And so the first thing is we don't have to overcomplicate it, but we have to know who we are as a business and what our brand stands for. Because one thing about the market will define for us who we are if we don't let them know. So based on you showing up, and this is why sometimes stylists get confused, why are all these people coming to me? I really don't want to do these services. Because for some reason, somebody got a clue and has been out here spreading the message that if they want this particular type of service, they need to go to you. Even though you can do those services, it's not what you want to be known for. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, I'm sick of these things. But yep, it's making money, but that's not what I want to be known for. And that's because somewhere there was just a disconnect in how they perceived the services that you provide and what you wanted to do versus you telling the market, this is who I am and this is what I want to do. And I know, Elaine, when we talked about you wanted like DIY, like really simple things that we could do. And the first thing, I think Rob mentioned it, was one of the things, and I think we're so caught in social media now that we forget that marketing is an integrated approach, right? We got to have different spokes in that wheel. So if I'm going to use Instagram, right? I better make sure that the majority of my people are using Instagram or it's not a platform for me. And I know as beauty industry professionals, we've been told you need to be on Instagram. Well, I'm going to say you need to be where your clients are. If your clients are on LinkedIn, they're not on Instagram, whoever is seeing you is potentially not your client. You need to be on LinkedIn. But you also, when I tell people, is we don't focus for hairstylists. Hairstylists are local. Very few of them are international or national, global, very few. So that means my marketing and my visibility has to be local.
Okay.
I get to define that where I am. Is that a 25-mile radius? Is that different cities from where I am? I'm in South Fulton County, right? So at the end of the day, I might want to go farther south. I might not want to go north, east, or west. I might want the areas that are below me. I have to choose that local area, and then I have to do marketing to that local area. How do I do that? For me, quite frankly, that I found is I might need to do some paid ads in there. And that's something that beauty industry professionals don't, because paid ads allow me to target to communities that I'm not actually in. In South Fulton, I could go and look at events and say, oh, what's happening in South Fulton? And I could find events that possibly have the females in it that I want to serve, and I'm going to go to those events. So Rob had mentioned you got to get local. So if you're doing something, and local means get out in the community. And I tell beauty professionals that recruitment or acquisition of a client happens outside of the salon. Retention is an activity or strategy that happens inside of the salon. So if I am trying to build a business and I'm inside my salon, I'm using retention strategies and not acquisition strategies or activities. So I've got to figure out what is the activity that I need to do that will reach people so they know, hey, here Carla is, here I am. And most of that, for me, when I first came from Alabama to Atlanta, I knew three people, my sister and two other sorors I went to college with. I lived in Midtown. I decided that as part of building my coaching business, I was going to go back into the salon. For me, with the maturity that I had, I knew a basic. I'm sorry. A basic salon wasn't going to work for me. So here's what I did. Before I came here, I found a salon suite. I specifically chose Alpharetta. And let me tell you why. I chose an area that had a high population of professional African American women. And my mindset was the majority of those women, because of Alpharetta, probably don't work in Alpharetta. They probably work in surrounding areas, inclusive of Atlanta. And I'm pretty sure that their hairstylist is someone in their work community area, not in where they live. Why? Because when I get off from work, I can go straight to the salon, then I can go home. Now, I want you to hear my reasoning and rationale. Most of us just hop on to, I want to do this. I am literally walking you through my thought process before I even created a marketing plan. I literally had to figure out the consumer I wanted was professional women or women who valued image, and put image in their budget as it was a bill. So I knew I didn't want a fly by nighter. I knew I didn't want those who was dependent on somebody else to pay for their hair. I already knew that. But I also knew that I wanted professional women. And that didn't mean you had to be a doctor or lawyer. You could be a realtor. You could be a teacher. You could be, but I wanted someone who was committed to image first and foremost. So my marketing had to appeal to those people. But just me saying that didn't mean they were going to come to me, because I'm the new kid on the block. Don't nobody know who I am. Most people, and we all can say this, a couple of people we're afraid to lose. I'm not really keen on switching a gynecologist, a dentist, or my hairstylist. So if I have to switch those things, there's got to be something wrong, right? With where I'm currently going, I'm not satisfied. So my mind was, I already know if my market is going to be African American women, mature women, and that mature is probably within a range of 28. Okay, 32. I'm going to skew a little older. 32 to probably 50 something was my range, because I was in my 50s. All right. So I wasn't trying to get all the young ones. I was trying to get the older ones, married, got kids, just real responsibilities. So, but again, nobody knew me. I didn't know anybody. So what I did was I decided that I was going to create a Facebook ad, and I was going to run this ad for $5 a day. All right. I think it was $5. And basically, I was going to talk to women who weren't satisfied or who had not found someone. They were on the hunt. Do you see how I narrowed that down? I didn't go to everybody. I didn't say, okay, I wanted all Black women or African American professional women. I said, no, I wanted African American professional women between the ages of 32 and about 53. At the time, I was 53. I also wanted people who weren't satisfied with where they were going, weren't satisfied, but were still there, weren't satisfied and had stopped going, or somebody who was just totally looking, who was new to the area and needed someone, and they wanted what I had to offer. So my messaging spoke directly to those people's pain point or their interest. Hey, if you're not happy where you're going, you know, and what were the things? You're waiting too long, inconsistency in styling, service provider not really caring about your needs. I listed all of those things. Now, mind you, I ran this ad prior to me getting to Atlanta. I still lived in Alabama. I had a location, I had a website, one-page website, I had a booking site, and I wasn't even in the city. And I was running an ad. $5 a day equals $150 a month. Some of you will go and spend $150 on a meal one time and not see any return, but won't spend $5 a day trying to get you and your business in front of one or two or three people, average per day. So it's really about a mindset shift about where do I need to invest in time and in money to get the greatest return? And to be honest with you, I'll tell anybody, the least expensive way to do it Even though they've taken it up, Mark Zuckerberg, you used to could do $1 a day. You can no longer do $1 a day. I think it is the minimum is like $3 or $5 a day on advertising. But when you think about the return, if for one $5 investment, that gets me a $75 service or a $150 service, the return on that is phenomenal. If I even just said my average cost per lead is $5 and I turned that $5 into a $150 one-time service, or on an annual basis and they come 10 times, that's a $1,500 service I just got. So marketing isn't just about the messaging. Marketing is also about the math. Marketing is also about identifying, like Rob said, who my target audience is. So before I would want anyone to start marketing on the simplest terms, right? One is figure out who you are and what do you want to be known for. The second is what is my well, who do I want to serve and where are they? Because I got to get in front of them. Marketing is all about visibility and clarity, clarity and messaging. And then how do you want to be seen? Do you want to be seen on a post? Do you want to be seen in the community at a farmer's market? Do you want to be seen at a career day, introducing who you are? Here's a DIY for you. My daughter was in the 3rd grade. I'm in the salon. And I realized that they were the teacher would send home the little folders, daily basis. She'd send a folder. Well, sometimes in that folder, they would have little rewards, right? Jasmine was not talkative today, right? So she got an award for whatever. Light bulb. I called the teacher and said, hey, do you give these things out? Would you be interested in maybe me as a business salon donating a $5 little coupon that you could put in for students, maybe for a haircut? They're like, and she was like, that would be great. So then I just started asking teachers, hey, could you put this in your folder? That's a DIY. That literally got me who comes with a child? Moms or dads, if you're a barber, right? You're doing little boys. But that's who comes. I literally wanted the mom. But I knew if I could get mom coming, or mom might even want that coupon. It didn't matter to me. I'm trying to build a business. So that's one DIY. The other DIY is, to believe it or not, I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing now, but hospital waiting rooms. I literally would go and put brochures in hospital waiting rooms. People are
Works.
sitting there. It works. Nobody stops you from walking in that hospital. Where's the waiting room? So I would go sit in that waiting room and grab a magazine like I was waiting on somebody. And then I would move around and look at the magazines. And when I picked up a magazine, I put down the brochures. And then I'd go to another floor and do the same thing. So there's marketing opportunity all around us. We just have to figure out. And a lot of it doesn't have to be paid, but the ones that I got the most benefit from were the small things like that. Putting the $5 little coupon in a student's folder, take home with them. Because who's opening that folder? Mom and dad. Going to the hospital, putting the brochure there. Another DIY. I created a newsletter. And then I walked around the city and went to the independent, like the independent owned flower shop, beauty supply house. And once a month, I featured one of those businesses on my one page. Here it is, one page, front and back newsletter that I created for the salon. And on the front of it was the business highlight. And guess what? That business got free advertising from me, and all they had to do was make it accessible to the clients that visited their business. If you're a florist, hey, they walk in, hand it to them when they pay and leave with their thing. If you're a beauty supply, put it on the counter, let them grab it or stick it in the bag when they leave. Because my clients are seeing your business when they're under the dryer or whatever. So these are just small things that you could do that don't cost a lot of money at all. You got to create brochures anyway. And most of the times you don't put them anywhere. So find pockets of places where you could. Another thing you can do is Little League. So if you have small children or they're on some type of little league, or cousins, uncles, nephews, nieces, see if the team, talk to the coaches or whoever, and see if you can't sponsor some snacks. And then, of course, you put something on there where they know who it is. Who is it sponsored by? There's your name out in public. They'll be like, oh my gosh. And then guess what? You start going to little league games, introducing yourself. It's like, hey, my name is Carla Jones. I'm the owner of Breed Artistic Design Studio, and I lovingly sponsor the kids' snacks or whatever for the games. And I would love for you guys just to know that I'm here, and if you need any services. Walking up to people in the grocery store, complimenting them on their hairstyle. And the number one mistake that we make is we automatically go for the throat. Oh, well, why don't you come and see me? Well, if I'm happy with where I'm going, that's an insult. Please, no. So what I would do is compliment them on their nails or their hair, whatever I did, and then say, hey, had my card. And I said, hey, my name is Carla Jones, and I do have a salon. Now, I'm not trying to take you from where you go because evidently it looks like you're very happy. However, there are going to be times that your service provider might not be available, and I would like for you to know that I exist. So if you ever are in a bind, maybe your stylist had an emergency cancellation, they can't get you in, or they're on vacation and something comes up for you, or something else goes on, I just want you to consider me. Now, where did I get that from? I used to use it as a pharmaceutical sales rep with the physicians when I was going against a brand like Merck, because I was with Pfizer. And if Merck was their number one prescription they were writing for high blood pressure or whatever it was, I knew I wasn't going to come in there and take number one position. I'm okay with number two, because that's part of all I need you to do is write that script sometime. And if we're getting good response, maybe I can move up and me showing up. So I got that idea from when I used to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. I'm like, well, shoot, let me just try that on customers. And on the back of the card, I either gave them 50% off or their first time trying me free. Now, I know a lot of people be like, I ain't giving no money away. It was the cost of acquisition. The cost for me to acquire that client might have been that one, because I already knew when they came one time, they'd want to come back. So you got to deliver. But these are just small, little, simple things that you can do just on DIY that really don't cost you a lot, just in energy and thought. And a lot of times, I'm going to give you another one of my secrets. I watch ads. I don't really watch a lot of TV, but I'll watch all the ads that come on. And the reason I'm watching the ad is because I want to know on this commercial, let's put it that way, ads or commercial on TV, whatever you're watching. I want to know specifically what drew my attention to the commercial. If I'm busy in the kitchen or I'm really working on something, and I always have the TV in the background because I need the noise. I work with noise. I don't work by watching, but I just want the noise. And I typically put it on shows I've already seen so I don't have to pay attention. But if there is something in a commercial that comes on that distracts me, then I'm easily locked in and I want to know, what was it that caught me? Was it the opening? Was it something? These are all strategies that would work for you, because corporations are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising, sometimes millions a year in advertising, when all I got to do is just watch and figure out, okay, so if I do something very similar to that, because we see ads. I mean, we see a Mercedes ads on Instagram. We see a Mercedes ads on Facebook. So that means they are utilizing the same tools you have accessible to you. You just have to figure out, how do I make them work for me? And all I'm saying in a simple format is, I have a framework I call MAP: marketing, advertising, and promoting. All right. Number one, I'm going to have a hard time marketing what's not branded, because the branding gives me my messaging. It also gives me my audience. It gives me my brand essence, what makes me unique and special, because people want to know why I should come to you. What about you is different? So figure that out so you can communicate it to get people's interest. The other thing is, now I've got some marketing, I also have to advertise. So either I'm going to do it two ways. We call it organic or paid. Organic is I'm going to hit the streets, or I'm going to use word of mouth. I'm going to do something like that. The other is paid. If I'm going to do paid advertising, where am I going to do it? Am I going to do it local? I would say newspaper, but we don't have a lot of those, but they have digital. So I don't believe, to be honest with you, out of home, which means bulletin boards, are good for hairstylists. I really don't, because I like numbers. Yes, I can see it, but how many people now on a digital board are literally seeing me as they're passing by? 80,000 people may pass by, but by the time my digital ad pops up, that might only be a quarter of the people that really saw it. So I'm not getting 80,000 people or eyes. And that's what people who sell out of home or bulletin boards or digital boards will tell you. I would rather take that money and spend it in paid advertising using my ads manager with Meta or Google ads, because people are searching. So if I'm going to spend $3,500, then if I've got that kind of money, guys, then I do have money potentially for someone who has the expertise to really help me do my ads right. So I'm getting a lower cost per lead, but I'm also getting in front of my ideal audience at a greater number. And so I would say that. And then last is the promotion. You got to have something people want, right? Or are willing to take advantage of. My promotion was, hey, when it was the person I was going to greet or found in the grocery store and I was complimenting them, it was either that 50% off on the back of my card or that free. And I can guarantee you that within 10 to 14 days, those people either called or were sitting in my seat for an appointment, especially when that service was free. And free is about trial. When you go to McDonald's and they have that dollar menu or that new frappe latte or whatever, and they have it for $1, that's trial. We get too caught up in saying, I'm not giving away $100 service. I'll give away $100 service if it gets me $3,000 from that same person a year. If it gets me $5,000, it costs me $100 to get a $5,000 service. That's a great return. Most hairstylists only look at it from the service standpoint one time. I look at it, what we call LTV, is lifetime value. Or if you want on an annual value, what does this person contribute to my $100,000 I want to make? So if I can get more people who are spending $5,000 or $7,000 a year, I don't have to worry about that one-time person who's going to spend 150. So this is where we have to begin to shift our mindset when we go to marketing. Marketing is about the numbers. And what we want to do is invest the least to get the most.
That's so true.
So
I want to make sure we get some, I want to make sure
Okay.
that gives Shannon a little bit of time, especially because I know I have people on here who have their own products. And I know, Shannon, that you are in that space or you've been in that space. So if you could just, share a few tips with us on the marketing side for people who are specifically have products.
Yes, for sure. I just want to just kind of piggyback on a few things that Ms. Carla said. First and foremost, definitely branding. I would say even before marketing, it's branding, understanding. So if you are someone that has a product, and I've been there and helped many, understanding who your customer is. But before you understand who your customer is, understand what problem you're really solving. And sometimes that can be a multi-layered answer because you may offer many things, but with strategic branding, with strategy, you're going to find out what it is you truly offers that creates value for your customer. And in most cases, you may think, as Ms. Carla said, you may think that one service that you think you do, oh, I really do this the best. This is what I do. This is who I am. This is what I offer. But you may have that one client that comes in that is transformed by a service that you offer that may not be one of your top services. And that one person goes out and spreads that word, right? And so I'm saying all that to say that it's important first and foremost to understand the business that you're in, right? Who you are in that business and your why for being there. Why are you there, right? Why are you choosing that path? And so definitely what I offer clients is a strategic business planning session. And I coach them through that because I've worked with, like I said, corporate CEOs. I've worked with small business owners, mom and pops business owners. And that is a question that they may be up and established for 20 years. And we get in a session, and through just a few prompts, just a few questions, we rediscover why they are even in the business that they're in. And so sometimes when we get led by the noise around us, what's happening in the market, and we see where we can climb, where we can excel, where we can outshine our competitors. Social media is great for that. Everything is kind of a copycat, see and do. And social media also started with us believing that it's all about telling our audience to do something, getting them to do something. But as we see over the past 5 years, there's been a whole paradigm shift in our mindset and our thinking about social media. It's all about who you are as a brand. Business is what you conduct, but your brand, right? You may be a stylist, but you're a brand. And what differentiates your brand? And so really what I came to this call with is when I received your text, Elaine, I thought about, okay, what are the top questions that stylists and salons ask me, right? When we get on a call for our initial discovery call, consultation, what do they ask me? And what are the signs that they see, that they detect, that lets them know that there's time to ask for help, right? And those are, so the first one is stagnant or declining growth. And Rob, I'm sure you can attest to this because working on the sales end, they've been in business for decades, they know their customers, people know their brand, but we're just stuck. We can't see, we've hit a threshold and we can't go beyond that. How can you take us to the next level, Rob? I'm sure you hear that. How can you increase our sales? I'm sure you hear that all day, right?
Yeah.
And so that's sign number one. What's happening? But in essence, what is happening, or as we would say, what had happened was I, as the entrepreneur, was working more so in the business than on the business. So that's the second thing. What operationally is happening in your business? Are you overextended? What's happening with your team? What's happening in the market that are creating more demands in terms of time management for your team? So we look at all of that. And I would say that that's number two, understanding what's happening on an operational level at your company for your business. And I'm sure that's the second thing that you look at, Rob, right? Okay, sales is declined. What's happening? What are you guys doing? Where are you spending? How are you reaching these customers? How many customers do you want to reach? All of those questions, right? And so if you have a product, with stylists, you guys are really the backbone, and salon owners, the backbone of the beauty industry, because you're really there. You have chemists that work in a lab, right, and create great products, but you're there outside of the lab, hands-on, demonstrating, right? Really getting all of that market research right there. How is this product working? What's the transformation that I'm seeing? What's the feedback that I'm getting? So you're getting all of that firsthand, right? That whole experience. And the third part of it is, now, how do I translate all of that into some type of marketing message? And furthermore, I've had people at all levels in business ask me, So what's the messaging? So what do we need to say? We have a great product. We have a great targeted demographic. We've run ads. People see our ads, but the ads just aren't catching. Why aren't they hooked to our ads? So that's a whole nother aspect of digital marketing. That's where content production ties in, where you have to have a creative mind, and stylists are visual genius. I've had stylists that have been able, and salon owners that have been able to articulate in 2 minutes what they want their ad to look and feel like, more so than corporations, right? They ask me, what does it need to look and feel like? Because they don't visually, they're not connected to that consumer in that way, in that personalized way. And that's what social media is about. Social media is the gate to connect to your customer, to that demographic in a personal way. And so that leads back to the branding. What's our story? So with social media is about telling a story, knowing who you are, knowing what your impact is, and how do you begin that conversation, right? What does it look like? What does it feel like, right? So that's the whole tie-in. So I would say, though, in that order, and then, I think everything layered that Miss Carla said and Rob said on top of that, but in that order, that's where you start.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on it, I think the biggest the biggest piece of this puzzle is time,
Yes.
finding the time. I think the the number one thing I hear from people is we just don't have time. We don't have enough people. We don't have bandwidth. And then if you really like sit with someone for an hour or for 8 hours, you see that you can find 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So my other thing has always been efficiency. I'm pretty strict when it comes to efficiency just because startups have a limited amount of money, a limited amount of people doing 40 different things, right? And so nothing can be slipped through the cracks. Everything's important, but there's only 8 hours in the day or in the working day. And so looking for those opportunities to capitalize on time is one of my big things. And so being able to figure out how much you're willing to spend time-wise on your business is pretty key. And I think when you look at some of the large corporations or the big CEOs or the big founders, they sacrifice, even sports people, they sacrificed a lot, right? No
And
birthdays,
stylists.
no that, yeah, right? You're there, you're someone else's therapist for 10 hours a day. And I only know that because I have three sisters and my mom, and I spent every other Saturday for what, 15 years in a hair salon because my mom brought me with her. And so looking at trying to steal those moments when you have a minute to whether it's think through an idea, take an idea that you already thought through and start to working on it a little bit more, and then literally do the simple thing of hitting post, right? It's a much bigger thing than the commercials show you in 30 seconds. It actually takes a lot longer, right? But making sure that you're moving the needle every single time you have 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or you're not talking to someone or your hands aren't busy, because that was the wake up call for me as a marketer who's always done digital and TV marketing, realizing that my audience is busy with their hands for 8 hours, so they can't actually be on their phone, or when they do, it's for something very specific. Being able to steal those moments, I think that's what it drills down to. So all those steps are awesome, but you actually have to take the time or convince yourself that something else that someone asks you to do is not as important as you figuring out those 4 steps that Shannon just told you.
Absolutely. That commitment. Oh my gosh, Rob, I love the way you just encapsulated that. That commitment is
Oh,
super
it's a lot.
important. It's super important. That's
Yeah, I
probably
love being on meetings and telling people. It's easy to say that in 20 seconds,
that's
right?
my
But now
close
we
for my
actually have to
strategy
do it.
consultation. That is my close for my strategy consultation. Will you spend one day working on your business to make your business successful? Right?
Yeah.
Just one day. That's it. Will you spend 4 hours? Are you committed? Will you spend 2 hours? Can you jump on a
Yeah.
call for an hour? That's commitment. If your answer is you don't have time, you're working in the business. You're not working on your business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And be
that's so
okay
true.
with sitting. Be okay with sitting and thinking. People are
Yes.
gonna say you're not doing anything.
Oh
I'm
my
doing, my
gosh.
kids don't realize that, like, I don't have any actual talents, right? I use my brain and my fingers, right? And they're sitting there, I'm like, I can't talk to you right now because I'm thinking through something,
Yes.
right? So that then I can either explain it to someone so that they can do it, or so that I can go and do it. But that 30 minutes of even reading magazines, I think Carla said she looks at marketing advertising. I do it
Mhm.
too, right? That's where ideas come from. I go for walks, that's where thoughts, that's me working, right?
Yes.
And it's not me just being off of my thoughts, enjoying La La Land, because I can't just do it. You have to think through while you're doing it, because the biggest thing you will do is spend, when you start to charge for your time, you'll realize how much money you're spending, not actually sitting and thinking through it before you go and do it, right? And so I think for you guys, it's second nature to braid. You could talk and I had long hair back in the day, and watching them have full conversations while they're doing something so technical, I could never do that. But people take that for granted, right? And so they'll walk up to you and steal your brain power when you're doing something because they know you can do three things at once. But if you stop that conversation, there's something else you could be doing in your mind while you're braiding hair, right? And so again, time efficiency. I think once you have the ability to understand how much your time is worth, how much of your
Mhm.
time you're willing to give back to yourself and charge yourself for it, right? And how much you're willing to say no, not right now, right? Those three things will set you up uh pretty tenfold, because you'll have more time, you'll be able to think through things, and then when you have time to do them, you'll see the return on them pretty fast.
That is so true. And another thing I just wanted to add on to what you're saying, Rob, just in terms of knowing when it's time to get help. This is one thing that a business coach once shared with me, that it's important that you know what you know what you don't
You
know,
don't know.
and know what you don't know. And so, in order to know what you don't know that you don't know, you really need an expert. And
Mhm.
so, there comes a time in every business that help is required, right? And so you could end up fishing in the sea for years, or you can find the help that you need, right? Get the help. And there's it's not always one of the things that after I do a con, people say, "Oh, I don't even know if I can afford you." Why would you count yourself out?
Yeah,
Why would you count yourself out? Consultants work with people on different levels. You know what I'm saying? Different levels. So it's always being open, as Rob would say, giving yourself that time to have those conversations, to allow that creativity, all of that imagination to come in. You know what I'm saying? Like, take the time and do the work. That's it. Take the time and do the work and get help, because there's no I in team. You can't do it
for
all.
sure.
And that's one of the things that I've seen as I traveled internationally as marketing manager over events and helping Jane, you know, enter these international markets with her business, going there, setting up stylist programs abroad. Have seen stylists across the world work themselves into a whole, as my grandmother would say, into a tizzy. They work themselves into a tizzy until they just don't, it's like, what am I doing? Okay. And you guys are just so masterful, as Rob pointed out, in just being, you know, just being able to multitask, and constant, and also be an expert and be competitive, right? In what you do, making sure that you please every customer. That's super important. On the spot,
For sure.
delivering on the spot.
Man, guys, thank you so much. I can't believe how fast the time went by. I do want to just say this for our stylists. Rob, you said some things that are super important, especially about the time.
Mhm.
And the you when you said stealing someone's brain, I think that's so critical. It's not a way that I've ever heard anyone phrase it before, but what we often ask stylists to do is don't let someone do that. Like you said early on, Rob, make sure your questions are questions that you're using to gather the information that you need, because you're not going to have a lot of the time to do that gathering process. By the time you take that day that Shannon's telling you to take, you need to already have that information gathered. On top of that, that time is time that you can use to start collecting not only information, but content, right? Half the stylists now, you see them, their phone, you go get your hair done, there's phone and a ring light set up. That is on purpose, right? Because you need to be, that time is so valuable. When you're at work, dedicate that time to work. So when you're not at work, you can dedicate that time to friends, family, relaxation. So there are several tools that you can use. And I know we talk about them in our different sessions, but I just wanted to reiterate them because it just fits so perfectly with what Shan, Robin, and Carla are talking about. And that is taking that time to gather information from your clients, to give information to your clients, and to record those conversations with your clients so they can be used for your research, development, and for content. And I think Roxanne had a question. I know we're over time, but I'd love to let Roxanne ask her question if she had one.
No, Elaine, if I raised my hand, that was by accident.
Okay, no problem. No problem at all. So guys,
I'm the sponge today. Thank you, everyone.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so it is now 20 after the hour. I appreciate everybody who joined us. I definitely appreciate you, as per Shannon, Carla, Rob, who joined us today. I will be following up with you guys just to let you know how everything went and to see how we can help you in the future, because I definitely owe you all. So I thank you so much. All right. So guys, you all have a good time. And of course, those guys who are on now, we will be back on with Lalitha at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to be talking about success as a salon owner. And she has some excellent information that she's going to share with you guys. So I will see you then. It's a regular Mindset Monday for ANHC Pro. So we'll be back at 1. Talk to you guys later. Bye.